Okay, everybody. How is that? Thanks for everybody who's waited. How's the audio? It's good? Last sip of my non-alcoholic beer. All right, let's get started. Cool. Thanks, Nova Baby. Welcome to, I think this is part 8 of my talks about sobriety. Last time I started off with talking about, I started to go through 10 questions to ask yourself daily in addiction treatment. So I went over the first 3. What did I do to strengthen my recovery today? What problem behaviors did I exhibit today? What could I improve from today? So I wanted to go over another 3 before we jump into me telling the rest of my story, which is a good one today. It's actually now that we're at part of the story where I'm kind of just being sober and I'm in the hotel industry and that's going really well. I get to talk about some stuff that was definitely a struggle and was definitely hard to do when sober, which is dating people and having a love life, which is probably a very hard part of being sober. Or it was, but yeah, probably one of the harder parts for me being sober. So the 3 questions that I'm going to talk about today, these are 3 questions to ask yourself daily in addiction treatment. This is, what did I learn about myself today? So taking the last 3 questions into account, what could you improve? What problem behaviors did you exhibit? And what did you do to strengthen your recovery? What did you learn about yourself? Did you learn that there's a specific place or there's a specific store or a specific environment that triggers you and makes you really want to have a drink? Is there talking to a specific person that makes you want to have a drink or you feel negative about, or does their actions affect you in a negative way that makes maybe your recovery harder? On the flip side of that, is there a positive place for you? I found really like going to coffee shops for me was a very positive place because I could still be out and enjoying being out and being social, but not in the environment of drinking. What did you learn about yourself? And if you can ask yourself that every day, you'll start getting it in your head that you're looking for things to learn. And that's such a good way to grow, especially on a path of recovery. Like, what did I learn about myself today? Okay. And then you start thinking and pulling those things in. What did I learn about myself today? I work overnights, so I only woke up at 2 p.m., but I also, I guess I learned, I was a little nervous about having my friends come on the stream with me and be in the Discord voice chat and talk to us. And I learned that even at one point I was like, well, I'm not sure. I'm just going to do what I normally do. And I learned that even on stream, it's good to push yourself to do things that may make you uncomfortable, you're not sure about. And so that's what I learned about myself today. Next question. Did I set or accomplish any goals today? If not, what did I do today that brings me closer to my goals? Same kind of thing about learning. Did you, every day, I do meditation. I use the Headspace app, which is very, very important to my recovery. It was sort of like, once I sort of got my head around not wanting to drink and I had that under control, I really started to get into meditation as a way to improve my life and maintain that control. And push the boundaries of what I could do. It really helps your mental health, seriously. And so every day, once at the beginning of your meditation, you're supposed to set an intent. And then once you're wrapping up your meditation, you sort of think about what you're going to do in the day as well. But set an intention every day and just say, I want, even if it's something super small, I want to be more positive than I am negative today. If you're in a path of recovery, it could be, I only, what would be a good one in a path of recovery? I only want to think about drinking 5 times today, or I want to put myself in a situation where I may be uncomfortable, but if I can achieve it, it would strengthen my recovery. And if you didn't set a goal today, what did you do that brings you closer to goals? So goal setting is a way that can bring you closer to your, like, short-term goals, and short-term achievements are ways that can bring you closer to achieving your long-term goals. And generally that's the best way to do something. If you have a really big goal and it seems impossible to achieve, breaking that down into smaller, more achievable goals is so good. So that's why I find sobriety apps are so effective, is because it breaks down your sobriety into very bite-sized achievements, which is like being sober for 1 day, being sober for 2 days, being sober for a week, and it keeps stretching the distance between them until you're hitting those long-term goals. So yeah, ask yourself that question today. Next and final question we're going to go over today is, what is one problem I had today and how did I solve it? Again, if there was an issue with a friend, or if there was an issue with an environment, or if there was an issue, oh, hi Jerry, you wanted to come up and see us. Here's Jerry. One problem I had today was that this little guy just puked right before on stream. So, but that's not a problem that really relates to this. But one problem, an example of stuff like that would be, did you decide you wanted to have a drink? Did you have a drink? That's, one thing that I want to say that's super important is that never give up on being sober if that's what you want. Even if it comes in and you bail on 1 day and you have a drink or something and you go off the deep end, always come back to it. Don't think that that's going to be the end of it, because that's when you lose. Like, there's always a chance to start over again and do it again, and don't take it up as an ultimate failure. It happens, and I failed so many times before I was able to get to where I was. So everyone has problems. It's just you have to learn how to deal with them appropriately. So so those are the 3 questions. I will open the floor right now for a sec. I usually ask if anyone has any questions at this point, and I'll ask again at the end. Did anyone have any questions that they wanted to ask about sobriety or my journey or anything like that, or any of the questions that I just brought up? Hi, buddy. Oh, it's okay. Cool. Well, if no one has any questions, we will continue on. I'm just going to put this little boy down. He loves being in Dad's arms. So cute. Okay, here, you going under the shirt, buddy. Chill for a bit. So, where we left off last week. Oh, here we go, Mandy. How hard was it to focus on meditating at first? It's still a struggle. It's never something that you will perfect with breathing and everything. There's 2 types of meditation, at least in the Headspace app. There's guided meditation and unguided meditation. So guided meditation, they all follow the same basic building blocks. It teaches you a little bit something, it talks about something, then it gets you to set up your meditation. So it'll ask you to take 3 or 4 deep breaths, like 3 to 5 deep breaths, eyes open, just unfocused, like not focusing on anything. Deep breath in through the nose, exhale through the mouth, and then after that you close your eyes, and then you start basically recognizing your senses and addressing your senses. So you'll put your attention on your feet on the ground, sitting on the chair, your back against the chair, and feeling the gravity holding you down. Then you'll start to notice any sounds that go on. You'll intently listen for sounds, and that's my favorite part, is like listening and being like, okay, what's that sound? Okay, and then once you've like recognized all of those things, it seems to shut them out, and you can focus. And in our old apartment, I used to meditate on our patio when they were doing construction. But after recognizing all of those sounds and things like that and feelings, they kind of go away. And then after that, you set an intention of what you want to do for the day, and why am I meditating? What do I want to achieve? And then you do a scan through your body, a body scan. So they describe it as almost like a photocopier, and it's that beam of light just sort of like scanning your way through the body, and you don't actually have to, you're not trying to focus on anything, or you're just trying to notice it. You're not trying to stop. You just keep going. You're like, oh, okay, I feel a little bit tense in my chest. What is that? Is that anxiety? Is that pain? Is that sadness? What is it? But you don't dwell on it. You just keep going until you get to the bottom. And then you start to focus on your breath. And then after about a minute of focusing on your breath, or trying to, you go into like the deep meditation where it just says start counting your breaths. You count to 10, like 1 inhale, 2 exhale, and then you go to 10, and then you start over again. And you do that for most of the meditation. And that's how most of them works. And once you get in that rhythm, like I can recite those steps off of my head. You can do unguided meditation where there's no one talking. It's always difficult to focus. Your brain will go off and do things, and it'll just start. If I'm excited about something, or like if I'm thinking about streaming, or I'm thinking about games or work or anything like that, you always go off. But all you have to do is just recognize that, like, oh, I've been trained in the meditation to you recognize it as thinking or feeling. And are you thinking that, or is it a physical or emotional feeling? And then you just let it go. Whether it's a strong emotion or a weak emotion, you just recognize it in your head, thinking or feeling, and then you just try and come back to your breath and let your brain rest. But that's a daily struggle. I'm better at it now than I was, 2 or 3 years ago when I started. But you just have to keep focusing and not get worked up, not get frustrated, and just continually push yourself. And the only way to get better at it is to practice, but you have to know that it's never going to be perfect. Even the most practiced people who practice meditation or teach meditation as a living, their brain wanders from time to time, but you have to appreciate that you're taking that time for yourself. And just don't get down on yourself. Focus on the positive that you're actively meditating, which is what a lot of people don't do. So yeah, great question, Mandy. Thank you for asking about meditation. It's something I'm really, really passionate about and into. So I'm happy to talk about it. If there's any other questions, shout them out in the chat. But let's get started on talking about my love life and being sober. So I talked about it a little bit when I was playing games already. But once I had my job in the hotel, I was sober. I was out of Republic. It was great. I was just happy. You know what I mean? Like working in hotels is a stressful job, and I took it so seriously because I wanted to prove myself. I really felt like I had something to prove to everybody who was already working in hotels, because I had, I was older than most of the people in the positions that I was at. I was kind of like always the older guy on the team. I'm 33 this year, I think. 33 or 34, I think 33. But again, we had a very young team, and they're still some of the most amazing people I ever got to work with. I hope once we reopen the Douglas where I got my job, they'll come back. But yeah, I always just felt like, everyone who was younger than me had more experience and they knew the job better. So I always felt like I had something to prove. But it was really engaging doing that. And they have such great management training and management people there that like all of your hard work is always recognized. They write you nice cards, they send you great emails if you do something good. So it was very rewarding to put the time in there, and it still is. It's like such a great work environment. Always definitely stressful, but that's okay. So I had my work locked down, I had my sobriety locked down, and then I was like, okay, like what's next? I have to find I have a really big heart, and I'm emotional, and I'm part of becoming sober. I realized that like I've always been an emotional person, and I try to be honest. I try to see the good in people. I'm super positive. So I always try, and like I was just like, I want to find somebody to do that. I want to find somebody to share that with. And I want to be in love. Like I want to start like pushing for a family and have a house and all that stuff that I never thought I would ever have, because I was just like so focused on drinking and partying. I was like, I want that so badly, and I was like, that's the next part of my sobriety journey. Like I've got sober, I hit that. I've got a job, I've a career that I can move forward, and I've got that. Next thing is like I want my love. It was a lot easier said than done. Working in the bartending and nightlife industry, it's great to meet people, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it is great to meet people that are in the same mindset as you when you're trying to be sober. Or there's definitely, it's a tough industry to find love in. It's not a tough industry to find people to hook up with in, but it's definitely tough to find someone that, at least for me, that I wanted to like have a house with and make future plans and stuff. And because a lot of people are still wrapped up in sort of the nightlife industry, and they just want to party and meet new people, and it's a little bit more casual. But I had nowhere, I didn't have any other connections or places to draw from or like people to meet. I tried the Bumble thing and I tried Tinder and I definitely had a couple dates from there, but oh, I think you okay, buddy? Here you go. There you go. Jerry heard something. Um, it was really tough for me. So the people that I asked to go on dates with, there were people I knew from the industry, and I definitely had a couple past relationships, like longer term relationships, that just definitely didn't work out. Um, it was Yeah, I mean, I wish both like the two people that I had the long term relationships with the best, but we just didn't work at all, and I don't know if that was because of alcohol or whatever, just the times in our life, but they weren't my people. And so trying to find to go on first dates, I don't know, like I feel like a lot of people can relate to how nervous you are on a first date, and one of the easiest ways to make yourself not nervous is to both get drunk or both at least have drinks. And the act of getting to know someone over a drink is a lot easier than the act of getting to know someone completely sober. It's really hard. I was okay with it because like that's who I am. You know what I mean? It's not nerve wracking for me because like I'm sober and it doesn't bother me. Like that's how I'm going to get to know people from now until forever. So that's just how it has to happen. But for other people, it was really difficult. Um, I just think even trying to go on a date with me was really hard because there was a lot of issues. People may have wanted to have a drink by themselves, but they didn't want to make me uncomfortable, and I don't think that was ever asked. So it was sort of a weird, and I would have totally been fine if they wanted to have a drink, or people would want to drink and they had a drink, and then it would be like to the point where they got too drunk, and then that would just ruin it for me because I have nothing against drinking, but if I'm trying to meet someone that I want to spend the rest of my life with or get into a relationship with, getting drunk on the first date probably not a good sign. And so it was just I had a lot of swings and a lot of misses. When people are interested, it's and seem interested. I found that traditionally for me, I have a lot of issues with things seem like they're going really, really well. I have a great connection with them. We're talking all the time. We're communicating all the time, like texting or phone calls or just and always talking. And then all of a sudden it just cuts off. And then I have no idea what I did wrong, and and it's hard to ask people that are all clearly trying to not talk to you anymore, like, what did I do? I want to be better, and if I did something, I want to know. But like that's in our day and age, like ghosting someone is a really real way to just tell someone you're not interested. You just literally cut off communication. So I had a lot of those happen to me, and it was very difficult for me to recover from those because I just, over the course of my sobriety, I was always about my path of self-betterment, and I thought I was doing everything right. I was working out every day. I was eating healthy. I started a volunteer like charity work group that we did. I had a great job, like, and I was just like, well, and I thought I was honest and open and clear communicator, and I just couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. So it was very tough for a long, long time, and I realized that yes, I don't think I am for everybody, and I think I'm quite hard on myself when things don't go the way that they are. But I also think I was expecting people that I was meeting from the nightlife industry to want to be in a serious relationship, and like that's not fair to put on anybody. So I understand that now, but it definitely led to some tough dates or not dates. I got stood up on a couple occasions, and I would went to check their social media after I was trying to get a hold of them and just blocked after like a week of communicating or something. So it was Mandy, that's how I feel too, and I would beat myself up for it. Yeah, and I'm the same way. I'm hypercritical of myself, and so I'm always. But like, I want to improve. I want people to tell me what's wrong with me so I can improve. But I know it's hard for people to do that, and as much as I say that, sometimes when people do tell me those things, it's hard to take. But I would rather that so I can get better than just not knowing it all, and like not communicating with me is the meanest thing you can do to me personally. And I think for a lot of people, it's just like, I would rather you be straight up and cruel than I would you be aloof and just not communicate at all, because then where does that leave you? It could be anything, and that just drives me insane. So yeah, I had it tough for I think, me and Sarah have been together almost for 2 years, but for the first, um, yeah, I would say for the first 2 years of my sobriety, it was really hard. I was sort of in the tail end of a relationship, in my first 9 months of sobriety, and then after that, I was just all alone, and it's hard to stay. Once I realized that that was my issue, I was starting to think like it would be so easy to just go back and have drinks and these and meet people and have it be so much easier. And I think another thing that is weird to talk about, but like for a lot of people, the first couple times you hook up with people in your 20s and 30s, you're not sober. Like when you have sex with somebody for the first time, you're not sober. It's always drunk because you are meeting people and having drinks and stuff. And so you kind of like get drunk and hook up and have that physical relationship and then work your way backwards into a relationship. But when you hook up when you're sober, it's a lot, it just is inherently more meaningful because you're both like of clear mind and you can't say, oh, like we were so drunk last night, what did we do? It's like, no, you were actively making that decision, you're engaging in it, and it's more. And I don't think some people are ready for that. And that's nothing against that, but that's, again, it was just tough um, to engage. And so I just kept doing my thing for a while. And I thankfully, my good deeds paid off. Because as I mentioned, I started a charity group called the Hospitality Heroes, and that sort of started because I did a volunteer session at the food bank through my hotel, because they have obviously huge charity initiatives, and doing charitable initiatives is very important to Marriott. You have to log all of it and send it into the company. And then they release a report on all the good things they did throughout the year. So it's amazing that they do that. So I volunteered at the food bank, and I was like, oh my God, this is so easy to do. Why don't I start my own? And I think for a lot of people, the hardest thing about volunteering is that you don't know how to get started. There's not a place that you can just say, hey, I want to volunteer, and go and do it. You have to provide all of this information or know someone or contact them, and then it might take a while for it to get back. So I was like, I want to start a low barrier to entry group that people from the hospitality industry, whether it's hotels or bars, can join in once a month and do some good. And then that's your good deed for the month. And you can feel good about doing that. And it's easy and fun. So I started the Hospitality Heroes. And every month we would meet together and go to the food bank and just work our butts off. And we worked in the warehouse, and we would help them prepare all of the donations that they got, the food donations, sort them for expiry dates, sort them, and then put them into boxes, and then they would get shipped off to the actual little food banks around the city. And through doing that, that's how I met Sarah. She came to I think she was one of the first ones. She came to literally, I think, almost all of the volunteer sessions before we knew each other. And like we were in the same industry, so we were always sort of circling around each other, but we had never hung out. And so we started talking on Facebook Messenger, and she's a comic book dork. Like surprisingly, she's actually a mega nerd. I was not expecting that. And every day I realize how much of a nerd she is, like me. So she's just a bit more hidden about it, but I love it. So we started talking just casually on Facebook. Nothing ever really came of it. And then my dog got sick, Norman, and he was going through he ate, he has these dental chews. When I had Jerry Norman, he had these dental chews, and he didn't chew it. He just swallowed the entire thing. So he got really sick, and he had to go to the vet. And for like emergency surgery, because I took him in, he wasn't eating, and they're like, he has something stuck in his intestines. He has to have surgery, like open belly surgery, basically, to remove it. So did that, and I went into full like breakdown mode. The surgery was completed. I got him back, and he was still sick. Like he was so just messed up, and so I took him back, and they're like, okay, his stitches came undone. His intestines are flooding his body with like septic stuff. So he had to go into like round the clock 24-hour care at the emergency hospital. And then after like a week of like life-saving care around the clock, racking up a massive insurance bill, it was like $19,000 for dog surgeries and care and all of that. And I didn't even know if the insurance company was going to take care of it. My brother flew out from Calgary to help me because I was just a wreck. Eventually he got better, and he came back to my house, and I helped him recover with different medications and everything, like 5 different medications a day. And then my parents came out to visit me, and it was a long, tumultuous couple months. During that time, that we had a couple Hospitality Heroes sessions, and I said I don't want to do them. So Sarah was gracious enough to say, she called me and said, hey, I'll run the sessions for you. Like, I don't want to stop doing this volunteer thing, but I also like don't want you to have to be there. So I was like, oh, okay, like great. And I didn't think anything of it because my head was wrapped up in Norman. And then Norman actually didn't make it. So the day my parents got here, he started puking again, and we found out the scar tissue in his intestines had fused over his intestines, so they would have to do another surgery on him. And we just decided at that point that like there was still a chance of it not working out, and so we decided to put him down because the cost, we didn't like, it was so many factors, and it's the most painful thing to do in the entire world is to decide to put a dog down, because I fought for him so hard. But it wouldn't be fair to him to put him through a 3rd surgery. He was smaller than Jerry. It was just too much, and for him and for me and for my family, and so we had to put him down. And then after that, and then recovering from that, that's when I met Sarah, and I asked her to, I messaged her on Facebook and said, hey, I want to take you out as a thank you for running the Hospitality Hero. So it's sort of like, hey, let's go for a thank you dinner, but it's also like, maybe it's a date, I don't know. And she turned me down at first. But then I asked her again because our schedules weren't coinciding. And the day we were supposed to go, she said she was free, but I actually had another date with another person lined up. And I decided, it was a second date with another person, and I decided that I wasn't going to, I canceled that date, and I made up an excuse, and I went to see Sarah. And we went on our first date, and we went to meet the vegan restaurant in Yaletown, and then we went to see a movie, went to see Shazam, and then I walked her back to her place, and we had an awesome first kiss. And then I know I was talking about before how I'm always the type of guy, I will always text right after a date. I know you're not supposed to, but I just want to say, hey, if I'm interested in you, why would it matter if I texted you again? I don't want to play hard to get. I'm not a hard to get person. If I like you, I'm going to like you. Why would I not? Why would I be like, ooh, I don't know, do I like you or I don't? If I like you, I like you. So, but Sarah texted me right back, and we texted all the way up until we went to bed, and that's how we fell in love. It happened pretty quick. So that is where I will end my sobriety journey today. And it was, that was a difficult part of my life, is just I was happy about sobriety. I was happy about my job. I was happy about my fitness, but I was not happy about being lonely. And being lonely sucks. It's really hard. And I know everyone goes through it. So drinking is a way that you can get through that stuff, but it doesn't help. It does not help. It makes it worse. It's a temporary Band-Aid. So does anyone have any questions before I head off? Cool. Well, if not, then I will see you guys tomorrow. Same time. Tonight is my Friday, so I'm off tomorrow, so it'll be a nice relaxing World of Warcraft stream. I might be doing some more of what I did today, but I'd love to engage with you guys some more. Be happy. Thanks everybody who stuck around. I really appreciate it. As always, I'll post these videos tomorrow. Have a great evening. Thanks guys. Love you all.